Batman Dark Patterns issue 5. Dan Waters writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So the apartment building is Scarface, and Batman is trapped inside with a bunch of people who are following Scarface's wishes. Quick flashback at the start showing how Scarface was defeated last time, and then Gordon's complaining that Wesker got like let out of Arkham because he convinced everyone that the Scarface persona was destroyed when the dummy was destroyed. So yeah, Arkham psychiatric reports are as good as toilet paper. Was the line that caught me there.
That gave me a great chuckle because where's the lie?
Yeah,
like Arkham in this sense, Arkham has not helped almost anybody. Right? There's not one success story to really, and in fact, it pulled one of their doctors into a life of villainy. You know, so yeah, I love Gordon's comment there.
Yep. So Batman's dodging gunfire from all the drones. He ends up in an apartment with a little girl whose mum's kind of sick and comes out with a walking stick and is happy to like talk to Batman about what's been going on. And this voice has been coming through the vents in the building for quite some time and kind of convincing a lot of the people here that like the voice can be trusted, that it'll save them, that it'll save the building. And Batman starts theorizing about how it's what did he call it? Acousmatic sound, which is basically the idea that if you hear a voice but there's no person or like an obvious source, then we naturally kind of like take it as like a very serious thing that we should trust because it's like, oh, it's the voice of God, it's the voice of something important, it's a prophecy of some kind. And he starts talking about how this affected the ancient Greeks, and then this woman's just like, why are we talking about Greeks? What's happening right there?
He's like, well, you know, it's that Pythagoras lectured on philosophy from behind a veil. And the little girl's like the Wizard of Oz. And then we get Batman drinking what looks like lemonade, going, yes, like the Wizard of Oz. And I just thought, everything's bathed in green, right? There's this little girl there. Batman's drinking it just, it was just a fun little whimsical kind of thing here.
No, I mean, I like it because she's right. Yeah, it's just like the Wizard of Oz. It's this idea that you think the voice is from someone powerful because you can't see who it is, and she's like the Wizard of Oz. I'm like, yeah, exactly. The man behind the curtain. It's exactly that.
And isn't that Batman's entire vibe? As the presentation? You know? At least in like Batman Begins with the whole swear to me kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
I mean, they can still see Batman, but yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, or when he goes in Dark Knight and he questions the Joker. Right, the Joker's not taking any of it, and he's standing behind him and whatever. So it's just one of the things that Batman understands here, and how now it's been affected. This whole building has been affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Batman does use it certainly, but I don't know if those examples specifically are. But it's more like when Batman turns off the lights and just sort of starts saying stuff to people, like, you know, it's spookier because you don't know where he's coming from. So the book kind of goes back to that sort of main like guy in the building who was like getting really, he was the one that had the dummy for a bit and he got like hit with a batarang when Batman escaped.
Yeah, Rickson.
Yeah, he seems like the one who's kind of like leading everyone and like barking orders, getting mad at his wife and telling her to do stuff. Just important to mention him because it's going to be a big thing with him later on.
Yeah. Well, and everyone's still wearing the Scarface mask, which I still think is one of the best touches in this story.
Yeah, so
like this cult to him.
Yeah, the woman who's talking to Batman kind of starts talking about how like, like you should probably get out of here because they're going to keep looking and they're searching all the apartments, and they are. So Batman jumps out the window and dangles down for a bit. But when the police searchlights look at him, then all these people in the building can see him, so they start like shooting at him and throwing stuff at him. There's an iron at one point comes flying down towards his face. So he swings around, gets into the building, and he's basically been speaking to Gordon over the comms saying, hey, I have to find Wesker. He's in here somewhere. He's probably in the brain of the building, which would be the top floor. I'm going to need to get to 30. So we get like a little sequence over several pages where he's fighting his way up the stairs, and he's like, okay, I'm on the 9th floor. And he like, drops some smoke or whatever, which... it's a specific gas that actually stops the voice from coming through the vents. It sort of dampens it, so they can't hear Scarface's voice anymore. And he's able to get up a few floors, beats up some more bad guys. But it's really fun because it's like he beats up a few guys, getting up the stairs, and he's like, okay, 10th floor. Then he goes up some more. He's like, okay, 11th floor. So it's like it really does feel like he's going up like a series of stages in a video game.
Yeah, well, I mean, we compare this to kind of the Raid and Dread, and this is where it feels the most like that as he's
Yes.
ascending the different levels.
Yeah, so he gets up to the top floor, which is the 12th floor, and he, busts in. Wesker's there, and he's like, Wesker, prison now. I love that as if Wesker will just go to prison on his own. Like, just go now. You've been told off by Batman.
Yeah.
Off you go. But there's a twist. The twist is that Wesker's tongue has been cut out. He cannot be the one who's saying anything or voicing Scarface. And he's just sort of like, he basically mumbles or says what he can, which is he tries to indicate that Scarface did this to him. And he's like, but this doesn't make sense that you did this to yourself. So who did it? And this is where Batman starts theorizing, oh, you found someone else who is susceptible and delusional as you are to pass the persona on to. So naturally, our brains all go to that asshole, Rickon, who is like the pure aggressive guy. Or Rickson, there you go. And he's like, being at the asshole all issue. But the twist is that his wife, who's been very kind of, sheepish and kind of like docile and like doing what he says. Yeah. Which makes sense because that's actually what Wesker's like. Wesker was always this shy, nervous guy. So it actually makes sense that the person who he's passed it on to is also a shy, nervous person. So basically, Scarface is talking to this Rickon and says, hey, you've outlived your use, right? You're done. And then says, don't be scared, sweetheart. Do what we discussed. And Rickon's like, what are you talking about? And you just see his wife pick up this butcher knife behind him. So it's got a really good build to this, where you see that she is just completely murdered her husband, stabbing him in the back a bunch of times, and Scarface voice is like, good job, sweetheart, and that kind of thing. And then also tells her to kill the cop that they've got tied up because she just witnessed this murder. But the final page, just to make it clear, the Scarface speech bubble is coming from this woman. Because up until that point, there were just bubbles floating in the panels. There was no direction given to them. It was just this ominous Scarface voice. But the final page, as she's walking towards the police officer with a knife in her hand, it's, we can't have no witnesses, Gege, coming from her mouth. Which, by the way, people did comment on the last episode and explained this G thing instead of B. It's a ventriloquist thing. Because of the way ventriloquists talk, to do the second voice, it's hard to do certain sounds, and one of the sounds they struggle with is a B, and it sometimes comes out sounding like a G, so it's actually a very intended thing.
Oh, Dan Waters, you're brilliant.
Yeah, very, very good.
I don't think I've ever seen this in ventriloquist, right? Like, I don't see the B for G or the G for B swap any other time. I can't remember reading a ventriloquist story.
Sure,
so good on Waters for doing that. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, so it wasn't even just like a stylistic touch. This was something based on real, like, actual vocal like skills. So no, that's cool. I actually really liked this final few pages. I thought it built really nicely, like revealing that she's the new Scarface and that she's killing people, and I really liked it. It felt like a horror story almost at the end.
Well, yeah, and then I love Sherman's layouts, but anytime Sherman wants to ramp up that tension, you don't get the fancy kind of swooping ones, right? Like the reveal of Wesker's tongue being cut out, right? Everything's very straight, typical comic book page.
Yes.
And then when we get to the ramp up of the knife, everything's straight and stuff too. So that's, again, the stylistic choice that it's making here. It really makes the story not stand out, but it draws your attention there, like you said, and it ramps up the tension really well.
Yeah, it does this thing where there's a lot of curves in some of the pages, but then it's almost like on the page with the actual like dead body and like the final page, it's like, no, these are straight panels, so you know that there's no lies, there's no like manipulation here, it's just a straight truth. Whereas the page where Batman's trying to like theorize what's happening as he's talking to Wesker, it's all theory, so it's all these kind of like circular kind of like panels that are almost like a broken up iris around the sort of the outside of the page, like making up all these extra panels in this sort of circular pattern over top of the central one. It's good stuff. Yeah, no. I mean, we really liked the last issue of this. I think this continued it well. I really liked him finding like the one nice neighbor to like sort of talk to who wasn't like turned by Scarface, and the innocence of the little girl, and then all of the stuff with him actually having to fight his way up the floors, and then the reveal that, oh no, Scarface has found a new like host, if you will, but it's this wife character, and I think that reveal's done really well at the end. So I dug this a lot.
Well, yeah, and the fact that the neighbor that helps him is she can't get her medicine because of the blockade now.
Yes.
Right. So like the impact that Scarface is having too, it's it's not just these cult people that are putting on the masks and following Scarface's orders. It's the regular people that also live there. So it was a nice little kind of human interest spot to throw Batman into. But yeah, no, a lot of good stuff, man. This book is. I look forward to it every time it comes up on the list.
Yeah, it's hurting her rather than helping her having this blockade. As much as it technically stopping her building from getting taken down, it's also harming her in other ways. So there's no like clear cut. Scarface is doing something right here. No, he's not. Like he's. I mean, aside from the fact that he kidnapped an innocent woman as well, which is also going on. So it's interesting. It's interesting to think about how this is technically not regular Scarface then. It's this other woman's interpretation of Scarface. Now, maybe you could leave some wiggle room there and like theorize, is it something that could just be passed on? Is it just real Scarface that's transitioned from one person to the next? Or is it, more realistically, no, she's been convinced of this and is kind of taking on the persona, and it's like her own little quirks might be thrown in there to what it is.
Like, so irony is she's doing the Scarface impression, right? Because she's been, impressed on by Scarface. She's been chosen now in their own way, because she wants also to be free, much in the way that Wesker wanted to, right? Because if Scarface is supposed to be like this id, everything that they want to act on, but they can't, so they do it through Scarface, this is her not being the demure housewife anymore. This is her taking control of it. Oh, and I really like that balance.
It seems like she's in like an abusive, or at least a toxic marriage, if nothing else. So like, this is her kind of, all that anger is coming out via Scarface. It makes sense. The pieces are there for this all to click and make sense. So excited to see how this wraps up in the third part next time. But for now, Matt, what are you rating Batman Dark Patterns?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Yeah, I think I'm around there. I could even maybe stretch to the 9, but I think I'll stick to the 8.5. But that's mainly just because I think I liked the last issue a little bit more, because it was so exciting learning what the story was. But this was a very, very good second chapter.